All right, meeting is live.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to welcome everybody. My name is Paula Miranda. I'm the general manager for the Port of Newport. And today here we have two of our commissioners, Walter Chuck and Gil Sylvia. And we also have some of our staff members, Mark Brown, Chris Urbach, and Aaron Bretz, and Karen Hewitt, who is helping with this meeting. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for participating and also to ask everyone to bear with us as this is a new exercise for us. We apparently have done some of this meeting in the past in person, but not necessarily online. And we sent out invitation to about 780 folks out there. And these are for the semi-annual and annual pass holders and business around South Beach. With the intent of today is to hit three topics. I know we have received some public comments here on a few other items, and we'll be happy to address some of those items either directly or when the best time comes. We will continue hopefully in the future with some topics that it will be more related to what folks are asking or commenting on. Do you have a question?
I do, Paula. There are 5 people in the waiting room right now. Okay, just
yeah, we can admit them in a little bit.
Okay.
And we have only gotten a couple oral comments. There are some written comments that we'll try to incorporate some of those with our presentation here. And also, let me make it clear that some comments were directed related to fisheries and things like that. And I just want to make it clear that the port does not really have any control on that as far as number of fish catching sizes and things like that. This is all related to the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. We control the facilities, not what people do out there. So just to make it clear. Also, again, some of the answers we may give today, it will be very restricted to the fillet table issue, the parking issue, and some of our insurance requirements. If we have more time, we can see if we can answer to other topics. But I think considering these 3 topics may already really take a lot of our time, it's going to be difficult. And also one thing to consider as we move forward is the fact that the port is a public agency. However, unlike county and cities and state, a lot of our funds really come from the work we do and managing our properties. And only 3% of our budget, it will be a little more over 4 if you count with the bonds, but the bonds are very specific to different projects. But only 3% of our funds really come from taxes. So therefore, in a budget of generally $15 to $20 million, when you talk about only 3%, it's really not much funds. So we've been trying to do a lot of work throughout all of our facilities, including South Beach. Making sure that we address all the issues folks have and really trying to improve that. And in order to do so, there are things that we have to do sometimes related to fees, rates, and etc. that we have to take into consideration. And anyway, we're gonna go through that. But first of all, I would like to give one more thing, housekeeping thing here. For those folks that have signed up to speak to us orally, if you can please make sure that your name listed on your computer matches the name that as you submit it, because we're gonna really try to keep everybody on mute because we have a lot of folks that will be participating, and it will be very difficult if people are talking in the background. So when it's time for you to speak, we would like to unmute you, but it will be hard to do it if we can't recognize your name on the waiting room. So meanwhile, we'll let you all in, and we will again put you on mute. And we can probably do that right now. So I'm just admitting everyone. And again, we're gonna keep you on mute. Except for the folks that will be speaking. Okay. With that said, I would like to invite our commissioners to introduce themselves. Hold on a second here. We're gonna unmute them. All right. All right. All right. So Walter and Gil, if you will, please introduce yourselves and just share whatever you want to share with this group.
Hi, I'm Walter Chuck. I'm Port of Newport Commissioner. Been on the commission for 8 years now, and just looking forward to seeing what you folks have to say about our new parking and fillets, and hearing from you in the future about some issues in South Beach.
And I'm Gil Sylvia. I'm also a Port Commissioner. Only been with the commission a couple of years. And like Walter, I'm very interested in hearing your perspectives and issues at South Beach, including what the items that are on the agenda. So I look forward to helping the conversation the other way I can as commissioner. Thank you.
Very good. I guess we're gonna start with the fillet tables, and if I can invite Aaron to introduce himself, and maybe we can start talking about that topic. And after we made some comments on this, we'll bring people in.
Yeah, good afternoon. I think I've been working toward this for a couple of years now, but there's a port ordinance that requires identifies certain commercial activity that requires the port to issue permits for. One of them is all charter boat activities or charter boat operations of any variety, and then the other one is the cleaning or processing of seafood product for remuneration when not conducted solely upon a vessel under an MLA or other agreement with the port. So we developed some permits to issue to folks who commercially fillet at the tables over in South Beach. That's a service that we do value. There's a lot of recreation. The tables are primarily made for recreational use, but there are a lot of recreational users that definitely prefer to have professional fillet their fish for them. And so the filleters over the years have become a constant presence there. And we want to allow some space for them, but also be respectful of the fact that the tables were built primarily for recreational use. And we do get a lot of feedback on that topic, as far as people that would rather not see filleters there. But the purpose of this filleter permit is to allow that sort of activity, and to allow us to start to regulate some of that in the event that we get too many filleters in one location or too many filleters across the board to where it pushes out recreational users. Any case, that's all I have for now. I'm here to contribute some information if it's necessary, and help out however I can.
And let me add to that, that the port has actually put a request for a grant to Travel Oregon, just put out a grant availability, which I think they're gonna make a decision here by April 30th. And that was a max of $100,000. So we put out a request for 2 new fillet tables. And I heard good comments that there's a good chance we'll get them. And if we do receive that, the requirement is that those were completed by November. So if we do, it will be a pretty quick turnaround. That certainly will help by having a couple additional fillet tables. They're not cheap, very expensive indeed, but hopefully that should help with the general gas versus the commercial fillets. I know it's still not enough, and with the COVID restrictions still in place, we have to follow the guidelines, and hopefully that will change soon. With that said, I have a comment here from Mike Sorensen and Vela. However, I cannot recognize your name on a participant. I have a couple people that says, please enter your name, and it doesn't say the name. I'm gonna try to unmute you all. And if that's you, if I can either have Vela or Mike step in. Hold on. Oh, there you go. I will try to unmute you. Hold on just a second. Again, bear with us. This is kind of a new thing that we're doing here. I think you can go ahead, whoever has the Atlantic Explorer photo.
Brenda Bellini.
Oh, okay. Although we did not receive a comment, a request from you, but go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't have any comments. I know you were looking for Bella and Mike, so I was just saying who I was.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Appreciate that. Let me see who else here. Again, I don't see. I believe I have unmuted a couple other people that I don't recognize names. So if either Vela or Mike is available to talk, please go ahead. Okay.
We are gonna message Vela and Mike right now to see if.
Okay.
My wife Brenda Bellini works with Vela and Mike over there at South Beach. I don't know how to enter our name off the Atlantic Explorer. I'm the port captain of that research vessel.
Right.
And we're using their Zoom account for this meeting somehow.
That shouldn't make any difference. All right. I don't see. Karen, you also have you can also unmute people. I don't recognize, and I'm trying to unmute folks. And I can't unmute them. This isn't working very well. Well, I'm hitting the ask to mute here. All right. Okay, so I allow everyone to unmute themselves. So if I do have Mike Sorson or Vela available to speak, please come forward. You can unmute yourselves. Okay. Well, again, you are able to unmute yourselves. So if you haven't come forward, I guess we're just gonna move forward with, unless Walter or Gil, do you have any comments in regards to the fillet tables? I guess one question that Vela did have is why only one helper and what is a helper? Erin, do you want to respond to that, even though she said she wanted to do an oral comment?
Sure. Yeah, I could go ahead and do that. I think her question was, I think she asked if about the limit of one, and then also what exactly a helper was. I use the term helper in the license because that's generally, in speaking with the filleers, that's what they call the people that help them out. So, and again, what I try to do here with this license is to permit the activity that generally goes on already before the permit existed. We're not looking to cut something out all of a sudden that previously existed. We're just looking to be able to make changes to the number of people at a given location if it gets too full of commercial flares. So I use the term helper because that's what they generally called the person who helps them out. The debate was whether or not we should allow a helper. We needed to set the price on the permit such that just not anybody would just go out and say, heck with it, I'm just going to get a license, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of having a fee and making it somewhat reducing the number of commercial filleters at the tables. So we wanted to set the price right so that it was only worth it for a person who was going to be operating commercially to seek a commercial license. And then the debate was whether or not we should just say, look, one person, one license, and that's it, or allow them to have a helper. We allowed them to have a helper because all the filleers have said that, during certain times of the year, especially during halibut openers and sometimes it's tuna season, it's very valuable to have. They might have one or possibly two people come down and give them a hand, sometimes maybe even more, but they do that because of the volume of fish that comes through. So we didn't really feel like it was going to work very well to just say, look, one permit, one person, because then it would basically probably eliminate their ability to have a helper on some of these weekends where there's a bit of a surge of people. So we raised the price. We set the price a little bit higher and then said, okay, you can have one helper on busy weekends if you need it. I didn't make the definition real specific because I wanted to be able to I wanted to be able to allow what generally currently happens. So the way it works is if the person is part of your commercial operation, your commercial filleting operation, then that person is your helper. And so if they are there helping you out as part of your operation, they're your helper. And that's generally the way that we sought to create this. Also with the idea that this is the first year we've done this, and so if it becomes to be problematic trying to enforce it or get it to work or whatever the case, we can always reevaluate it and change rules as we move forward if it's necessary.
And that term is defined on the permit, isn't that correct, Aaron?
What it says is the licensee may make use of up to one helper during times of high volumes, such as tuna season. Any additional helpers shall obtain their own license. So if you need more than one people to help you out with your commercial filleting operation, those people would need to get a license of their own. And that's and the license is it's the port granting permission for the licensee to commercially clean, fillet, and cut fish as a service to recreational fishers in the South Beach Marina at designated fish cleaning stations as identified in the Port of Newport Marina RV Park map.
And also, it's my understanding, Aaron, that you have actually been having these conversations with the folks out there for quite some times in order to create this process. Isn't that correct?
We've been working on this since about May of 2019 is when we first started working on it. This has been in the port ordinance though for quite some time, a number of years. It's in the port facilities code that we needed to have these licenses, and we're just with everything that goes on at the port and the staffing that we have, we're just getting to the point where we're finally getting it done. So
great, thank you. And since we didn't have anybody else that made a request to do an oral comment, we're going to move ahead with the next topic. And if at the end we do have anybody else that decides that they want to make a comment, we'll try to open up for that opportunity. So at this point, I guess we'll move on to talk about the parking permit for the South Beach Marina again. If I can maybe start that with Mark Brown. Mark, are you available? I can hear through the wall, but I cannot hear you at the computer.
Hello?
Karen? Yep.
Yes.
And you are muted, Mark, so I'm not sure why you're not able to. There must be an issue with your microphone. So maybe we can bring Aaron back and we can talk a little bit about the this parking process.
Sure. So I think most people can relate to seeing over in South Beach. There's a lot of times when there's a great deal of congestion and some parking issues. One of the things that we ran into last year that we need to make sure folks understand was that the parking that occurs out on Marine Science Drive happens within the city's right of way, and it's not the port's property. So the port doesn't have any authority in that area. It doesn't have any way to cite people in those locations for parking illegally, so on and so forth. There was a number of tickets that they wrote last year, the year before, the city wrote in their efforts to really step up parking enforcement, because parking is an issue all around the city. And when I say issue, what I mean specifically is that there's not enough parking. The marina conforms to the city ordinance, and when it was designed, there's a standard in the city ordinance that requires anybody who builds a boat ramp to have spaces for one parking space for every 5 slips. It seems a little bit backwards, but that's the way the ordinance is. And so that's the way our overall facility was designed with that in mind. And what we're finding now is that, as the years have gone by, increasing use at the boat ramp and increase in general of the number of people coming to South Beach and to Newport, we regularly spill over in parking. The parking capacity is exceeded in South Beach. So between that and, as Paula mentioned earlier, generally speaking, if you're a municipality like the city, you would have some tax revenue coming in that would pay for parking spaces to a certain degree, or whatever you got, road maintenance and things like that. But the port is a special district. We do not receive. I mean, like Paula pointed out, it's about 4% or so of our overall general operating fund consists of tax revenue from the tax base in the port district. So we have to cover the cost of everything we do, and everything that we maintain somehow or another, mostly with fees. And we have a fairly extensive network of parking lots and private roads, and we don't get road tax or any of those things to maintain that asphalt. So we have to find a way to cover the cost of that. that's one aspect of charging for parking. The other one, which I think is a little bit more important, is going back to my first point, which is that we're over capacity a lot of the time. We're looking to motivate people to change their habits as far as parking goes. And so one way you can drive people's motivation is through the implementation of fees. Fees don't just, they drive people's behavior in a lot of cases. So what we're looking to do is encourage people somehow or another to not park as many vehicles at the port if it's possible. So the idea is there that we should go ahead and charge some kind of fee for that, and that's what we're looking to be able to implement. Hopefully, sometime around the fall. We have a lot of planning we have to do for it, and a lot of things that need to be implemented. But it'll be coming up in the future at some point here, and that's the general drive behind it, is to try and get some revenue to pay for the resurfacing of everything, but also to regulate the habits of the general public, and usually fees are one way of doing that. Enforcement is another. You could write a lot of tickets and things like that, but it's not generally, that's a little bit more expensive and a little bit less effective. The proper mix, the proper solution is a nice blend of those different tactics to try and get folks to change parking habits. So I don't know how far you wanted me to get into that, Paula.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it, really, but I could go talk about anything that you like. So
No, I appreciate that. Again, just to reiterate that again, the cost for everything we do at the facilities we have, again, typically those funds do come from either grants or they come from the management of the facilities in general. Again, that little over 3% of our tax revenue, it barely touches the basis of everything we have to do. And there are things that is just very difficult to get grants for. Paving a parking lot, for instance, is probably not one of them. And we have to find ways, because what we're finding here in actually both of our marinas, commercial and the recreational marinas, is that we often have people complaining of the conditions of the facilities in every aspect. And in order to, again, fix those things and make a better place for you to either enjoy yourselves or do business, we have to implement a few things that it's not everybody's favorite, but it needs to be done. And again, especially during halibut seasons or other busy times, we find that the managing that parking lot, it's a nightmare because of the number of people. And again, people getting parking tickets on the streets become another problem that it shouldn't even be our problem, but it becomes a problem, which we worked that out with the city in few times, but we still need to, trying to make sure how we're going to implement that, which is with signs and ticket kiosks, and how do we implement all of that? There's security. So there are a lot of things that is going to be part of implementing this process. And we're going to start with a very low cost, quite frankly, of those fees. And in the beginning, we're probably just going to give people warning until you understand the process. But we are putting those processes in place right now. It may take a little bit of time for us to get that put together. And until then, stay tuned. We'll try to keep everybody aware of when that is going to be implemented. And when we have a better plan, we then may very well bring this meeting back together. And well, first we'll notify folks and then give you a chance to understand the process. And if you have questions, then we can answer those at the time. Meanwhile, since let's see, we had here some written comments in regards to parking. So again, a comment from Gary Weiss, it's what is the purpose, reason for adding the parking permits? This is really not necessary. Seems like you are doing everything you can to keep people out of South Beach. I think we kind of answered that with our comments and explained to you why we need to do that. And we absolutely are not trying to keep anybody from South Beach to any of our facilities. It's actually the opposite. We're trying to make this a better experience for you and trying to actually put some money into better the property. So with that said, I would invite again our commissioners, if they have any comments on this, to go ahead and make any comments you may have. That will be Gil, Sylvia, and Walter. Do you guys have any comments?
Yeah, no, Paul, I just say that parking is an issue, especially on busy days. And, we want to try and do our best to make sure that people are allowed to use facilities. And I think we should bring that, make sure that we do a lot of public outreach on this, because like you said, we do have a lot of parking, but we want to make sure that people are aware of where they should and should not be parking and when they need to pay that fee. I just know that one of the things that we'll probably need to address is the proliferation of smaller trailer charters and then bringing their people in here. I know that they're supposed to be paying a permit right now, but we need to get a grip on that with the proliferation of those people, because they have 6 people, and if they bring 2 or 3 cars, that's an extra ones that are going to be using our facilities.
Yeah, and to in response to that, Walter, one thing to remind folks is that if you do have a mortgage, you obviously automatically have your parking permit for that as well. So you're not going to have to pay extra for it. I think this is just trying to manage the additional visitors. Again, you may take your boat out and you may invite 4 friends, and 4 friends will drive their own single car, and that makes it real difficult for us to accommodate them. And besides, again, additional wear and tear to our facilities that is not being charged for. So that's part of it. Gil, do you have a comment?
Yeah, first of all, I think you got Paula and Aaron, you've done a good job at explaining the rationale for the fees. I think the entire city is facing this problem of parking and trying to come up with the best solution. And we know that crowding is just going to become a greater problem over the next decade or 2. So I think this seems like a reasonable solution for fees, both to help maintain the parking assets as well as to manage crowding. And we, as commissioners, should turn back to this issue in a few years and review it, right? See how well it's working, listen to any other comments we have. And that's the idea, to come up with a reasonable solution to help manage parking, to make, in general, the experience as good as possible for the users of South Beach.
Thank you. Okay, so at this point, since we didn't have any more comments on those, I'm going to move on to the insurance requirements. And then after that, if anybody else has any comments related to the 3 topics, I will try to open up the floor and let people, talk. So the reason we put the insurance requirement there as a topic is because there's been a lot of questions about our implementation and requirements as to some folks are thinking that we're actually increasing our requirements. It's actually, we're not doing that. It's actually, we're really trying to make sure that we have everything we need from our policy. Right now, if you look at your mortgage, your permit, you will find what your requirements are, and those permits or sometime in the mortgage, it will refer to the port code, facilities code, which really give you more details of what those requirements are. If you haven't seen the ports facility code, first of all, it is in our website, it's available, but we'll be happy to provide you a hard copy, either by stopping by our office and picking up one, or we'll be happy to mail it to you, or email it to you for that matter. So just contact us if you don't have it, but the requirements are already there. And some folks, as we are talking about the fillet tables, the fillet permits, I'm sorry, and the insurance requirements, there were some comments about, well, that's more than my boat's insurance, and that is not true. In some cases, we actually, if folks went ahead and purchased whatever they did for their boats, but they may not realize that the port's liability insurance, it's a little bit higher than they have been providing. I gotta say, we did have some issues here with having enough staff to follow through some of those requirements, but we're really trying our best now to make sure those requirements are met. And we had there are some folks that have asked us for variances, and how they're trying to compare what they do with what other folks do, what they use the facility versus other people do. And what it comes down to is sometimes it only takes one person to trip and fall, or something happen to sue us. It's I heard that just straight from a customer one time, that is always easier to sue the government because we have deeper pockets, which isn't true, but that's sometimes how folks think. And the tendency for people to sue us, we're actually dealing with a lawsuit right here in the commercial because a situation like that. And usually when those lawsuits go out, it's not cheap. It's not, the small amount you think, but people go for, there are some tort claims that we have to deal with here. So I had a long conversation with our attorney as far as, well, should we consider, giving a variance to these folks, or what should we do with that? And then we also had a conversation with our insurance agent and how we should address that. And some situation we realized that we may have to end up grouping some folks at different categories, okay? We are working with our insurance agent right now on that. Again, our attorney doesn't feel like the way things are right now, that we should be giving variances, that if we do, that probably need to go to commission for a specific request. And quite frankly, when that request comes to us, we probably will talk to our attorney and with our insurance, and then give the opinion to the commission, and then it's up to the commission how to proceed. But it is a complicated subject because folks never want to pay for something that they don't feel they can get their money back. Unfortunately, for the folks with businesses, it is part of running a business, it's the cost of running a business, unfortunately. And we do not want to make more requirements than that really makes your life difficult and cost you more money. It's not our intent, but at the same time, we do have to protect the port. We have an obligation to protect the port, and unless our attorney and our insurance agents feel comfortable, we will have to do that as a pass-through. So with that said, again, I would like folks to really take a good look at their agreements and see what your agreement is require. It's not something we're changing. It's not something new, but we are definitely going to be enforcing it, because I don't want us to get in trouble for, not enforcing it. Because what it comes down to is if there's a lawsuit and we are requiring a certain amount and the lawsuit comes through and then we bring this to our commission, the commission is going to ask, why didn't you enforce it? So we got to do our side, and we got to, make sure that if somebody wants something different, that at least we have a chance to understand the situation, but it's certainly not something new. So with that said, I don't know if Mark or Aaron has anything to add to that in particular.
I don't think I have anything that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay, Mark. Mark said he doesn't have anything either, even though I could just hear him through the wall. We couldn't hear him through the computer. Anyway, okay. Walter and Gil, do you have any comments on that? Okay. With that said, I guess what I would like to do, we don't really have many folks that dialed in. I'm sure a lot of people are just listening to this through the streaming. So I would like to open up this for folks with questions. And I noticed that Mike Sorensen, you weren't here before, but now you are, and you had a written a comment that you have an oral comment regarding the fillet tables. I don't know if you heard what we talked about it in the beginning. So if you want to go ahead and ask your questions or make your comment.
Thank you, Paula. I had a couple things. My wife is a flayer, so she probably had more questions about that. And she said she filled out a form. I don't know if you got it or not, but
yeah, I called her name too, but she never came
okay,
up.
she's on the line with me right now. So after I get done, I'll let her talk about her stuff. Excuse me. Sorry about being late there. I got the time confused with when I was supposed to have my comments filled out versus what time this meeting started. So I think what I'd like to ask about is a couple different things, and one that wasn't covered on here, but your parking as doing business. I got in there when Aaron was explaining that, but as having a business over there, I run my charter boat out of Newport Marina Charters. And I had a question of them having to pay for parking, or is that included? Because I know Chris leases a spot from you. And the other thing that I'm also concerned about is the enforcement of all these new rules and regulations. I mean, you got the filleting one that's going in, and there's lots of people that fillet their own fish. Does that also include, since South Beach has to have it, and you have commercial boats that are in there that are filleting fish for their customers on the docks? Do they have to have it? Is that going to be implemented over on the commercial side for the people filleting fish over there off of their boats, and such as the Chelsea Rose and the barge? And the other thing is the enforcement of all these new regulations that you guys are putting in. I've been moored over there for many years. We've had designated parking for moorage holders, and it wasn't enforced for a long time, and it was enforced, and then it went back to not being enforced. It just seems like if you're going to put all this stuff in, that either one, you're going to have to hire TLC or that company that you had for security back and cost more money, or put more people on the payroll to enforce all these and enforce them fairly. Because just because you have somebody that's filleting their, the fish like my wife does and Brenda does, they're the obvious ones because they're there. But if somebody comes up and, say, like Walter said earlier, brings their boat in on a trailer and it's included in their prices for their charters, and they're filleting their customers' fish, how's all this going to be enforced? It is really vague there. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let Aaron answer to most of these. Let me just answer to one item you mentioned, Chelsea Rose. First of all, this issue is related to a public facility. Okay, Chelsea Rose is a tenant of the port. It's a bit different in how they do their business versus what we're doing and trying to implement. And again, we're dealing with the fillets using public tables, public tables that the port have either put it in through grant money or general fund money. So those are a bit different in how we do. And you are dealing, again, you're doing work directly for the public that is coming in, that again, I'll let Aaron answer the charter issue, but when you're dealing with the general public coming in and asking you to fillet and paying you a fee for each one, you're really dealing with a whole different type of business. And I think mostly what we're doing here is to address that. But Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, I unmuted myself, right? Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, I just with regards to if you got a 6-pack that trailers in, it's, as you know, they're a little bit less visible, I think, to most people in the way that they operate than a standard, an inspected commercial passenger boat that it's a permanent moorage holder. So it is an enforcement challenge, I think. We're not the only ones that deals with that. All the enforcement agencies have challenges staying on top of that particular segment of the industry. We could use help when people see something going on they don't think is right. Please let us know so that we can divert some attention to it and try to get it taken care of. I do agree that we need to improve enforcement. We're going to have to on a number of these different things, and it does cost. That's what enforcement, any kind of enforcement of anything, costs money. And you're going to see an ebb and flow in its effectiveness, because as you amp up enforcement in some way, people adapt to that and they alter their behavior to, if they're trying to subvert your enforcement, they find a way to try and do that. So it's a constant effort. So it doesn't surprise me to hear that there's been times when it was better than others and it was more active than others, or it was more effective than others. It is its own competency, trying to stay on top of enforcement. And I don't disagree that we should probably budget to pay more in the realm of enforcement, because I've been hearing this for the time that I've been at the port. There's a lot of people usually they'll point to somebody else and they'll say, well, what about those folks over there? And oftentimes it's not something that, sometimes it's something where you can't quite catch somebody at it, or sometimes it's something that you're not aware of. So we will definitely, I think in future years, I've already talked to Mark Brown about future years' budgets, not this one necessarily coming up for the coming fiscal year, but in the future fiscal years, I think we need to plan to have constant presence in order to stay on top of these kind of things, because it obviously matters. It matters to the port in that we want to properly regulate the activity that happens here, but it matters to the public because they want it to be fair and they want to have the same opportunities as everybody else. So I think we need to improve in that. With regards to folks selling fish over in the commercial marina, that is, there is a part of our facilities code. It's section 241 that talks about buying stations. And I think that what we need to do is we have some work to do on defining that in the port facilities code, and firming up what the requirements are to be able to do that, because you may very well see that we need to implement a more stringent permitting process for that. I think a lot of ports do that, and the Port of Newport has not really had a very stringent requirement on selling, what you need to have in order from the port in order to conduct that activity. And just like Paula said, the Chelsea Rose and the Patty May, which is the name of the barge, they're covered under a lease agreement with the port with specific terms and requirements and things like that. I think those were everything. If there's anything else, I'd be happy to add on to it.
And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. There was the question about your parking also, being that our business run through the Newport Marina charters, and our customers park out there and they already pay a fee for us to come out there.
Yeah.
Was for the parking. And the other question I was going to put out there, not question, but I know you have where Or Aqua used to be, and I know you use a little bit of that facility, but it would, there's some more. It seems like you don't have enough parking, and I understand that. And then you have Rogue continually expanding, and then you take other parking away for people to park to dry camp, so to speak. So that's pretty much it.
Hey, Mike, I can get the parking fee for the Newport store. That they will be provided special permits that we produced for them, so there will be no parking for those charter customers that are out of the Newport store.
All right, thanks, Mark.
The only comment again I'm going to make on this again is the fact that as Aaron indicated, enforcement, it's not perfect. And again, I really would like everyone to bear with us as to the fact that we've been trying to staff the port to a point where we really are able to better manage some enforcement, as well as, again, we've been working with our security enforcement to add more security to the facilities as well as enforcement. I know there are a lot of questions that people submitted, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to read through them because they are not on the agenda, but I always want to remind you folks that we are always here available for questions the same way you submitted those. We have a commission meeting every fourth Tuesday of the month, and you can always submit questions through that, or you can submit questions to the staff here, and we'll be happy to trying to help. And if those subjects become a big subjects, those are the opportunity for us to have this type of meetings to bring it in the open and discuss with everyone. It's interesting that we have this meeting and we had 3 subjects, but then we have comments on several other things that was not part of the subject. But again, just make sure that we are aware of the problem, because often what we find is that there was a problem, nobody told us about it, and people are like, oh, I don't think I want to stay in New Marina because you're not doing this or that, and we're like, well, we never heard about the problem. So again, it will be really nice, but bear with us as we're really trying to do a better job in implementing a lot of this, and we won't know about a problem unless you told us. If you think we just heard through others, it may not be the case, so keep that in mind. Anybody else has any other comments? We still got not many minutes, but Aaron, do you have?
Paula, I just wanted to say we really do value what folks in the impacts of what rule changes have on their business and or the lack of rules or whatever it is, whatever those business impacts are, it's really helpful for us to hear what those are so that we can make decisions to try and sometimes it doesn't happen right away, but we look down the line. These are issues that come up that we do have solutions for them at some point in time. It's just that sometimes it takes a little bit, but I usually get a lot out of these meetings, these user group meetings. We have had them on the commercial side as well. and I've been able to learn a whole lot about the needs of the people in the marina through having these meetings. And so thank you for adding anything. And I think one of the issues that we deal with on the insurance requirements in particular is that people sometimes may find in reading their agreements, they're like, oh geez, I'm not carrying quite enough insurance, and they make it, they instead of raising their hand and saying it's going to cost me a lot more to get insurance, and they're thereby saying I'm not currently meeting the insurance requirements of the port, they sometimes, instead of doing that, just kind of hang on to it and hold their breath and hope to get by. But that doesn't help us learn about what those impacts are to your business, if you have any, and quantify them. Because like Paula said, it helps us understand what what your side of the equation looks like whenever we make decisions.
Indeed. So any other comments from anyone?
Hey, Paula, this is Mike again. My wife is here, Bella, that would like to make a comment. She put her notice in.
Okay, go ahead, Bella.
Hi, Paula. Sorry about like Mike said, sorry about us being late. My only question that I had and I missed this, I just got into the end of it when Aaron was talking about the helpers. I was just wondering if we could rechange that clause and maybe put as a helper as somebody that will be handling a knife, and can we have a non-helper that doesn't have a knife in their hand? Because on my real busy days, like on tuna days, sometimes I have somebody trimming the blood, and then I have one person just rinsing out coolers, rinsing off the people's fish, help putting them on the table. Sometimes they'll bag the fish up for us. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes I do have two helpers with me. And that's just a lot of extra insurance money to put out for just a few days of my year.
Yeah.
So you're looking to add, you said you're looking to add basically one person if you need it. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to let me take a look at this, and I hadn't heard that one yet, that specific request yet. So we'll definitely take that into account. I'll get you an answer here shortly. It would be what I would say. Let me look at the numbers of how many permits we got out there, what the impacts of doing that are, things like that. And that'd be my suggestion.
Because I do know that Raphael would like to have an extra helper bag up fish too when he gets busy.
Okay. I would say we should take a look at that and consider it, and then I can get back to you guys.
It's crazy how the little bit of things that we do to help get the people out from the fillet table too. So thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you, Bella.
Paula. Oh, thank you, Paula.
Sure. Any other comments? At this point, I guess, any comments about anything? We will, again, I'll be addressing some of these written comments directly to the folks who wrote them. The commissioners, you guys have any comments?
Yeah, just looking forward to doing, a couple more of these and hearing from the users. It helps the commission out too, and not just staff. We like to hear from the users also. So thanks for doing this, and thanks everybody for participating.
Hey, Paul, one question that came up, sorry, is with the flayers with their license that they have to have. I know Chris has gave them passes before for parking, so you might include that to get that, make sure they keep their parking passes, since parking's going to have to be paid for.
We'll work that through with Aaron and Mark and how we can handle that, and we'll let you guys know.
Thank you.
Gil?
No, good discussion. I've learned a lot as a fairly new commissioner, and I hope that we have a chance with the commission and the staff to talk through a few of these issues. and then communicate that back to our people using the facilities. So thanks. Good discussion.
Well, again, everybody, it's 4:02 now, and just know that this is not the last. It's one of the first for many years now, but it's not going to be the last. Actually, we're going to try to do this on a regular basis, but usually we want to come in with some topics that are, it's difficult to come in and answer one question from one person that has a particular issue. So instead of doing that, and that we can do through emails, phone calls, and so on, what we're trying to address here is general issues that may either benefit or hurt, a group of people. And we certainly don't want anything that we do to hurt anybody. We maintain these facilities for your work and enjoyment, depending which side you are. And our intent here is really to make it better, not make it worse. So we'll continue. I just understand that we have some obligations, and we can only do so much within the funds that it's available to us. And we love to hear from you. We only know what the problems are if you talk to us. Again, and there are many methods of doing that, not just through this meeting, but this can be one of them. Just keep us informed, and really appreciate everybody's time. And if there's anything we didn't cover during this session, by any means, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to continue this conversation. Unless anybody else has anything else to add, I think that's it for now. All right. Thank you, everybody.